climate change is the greatest challenge faced by man in the 21st century. And all over the world, the incidents of the heat waves, the forest fires, the sea level rise, droughts, floods, and cyclones are on the importing their intensity as well as quick points. So we are truly living in the middle of what Al Gore famously called the planetary emergency. India had, of course, been a party to all the major international conventions on climate change. It is a founder member of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and the Kyoto Protocol, which operationalizes it. But most notably to the Paris Agreement, which famously pronounced the goal of limiting the average global temperature rise to 4 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrial times, that is the one of this century, with further efforts to restrict it to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The Prime Minister announced the goal of realizing net zero by 2070 at COP26. And all our NDCs, the nationally determined contributions, are in alignment to those overarching goals. So we are all determined to reduce the emission intensity of our GDP by 45% by 2030 and enhance our carbon sink by a fifth, reduce our dependency on fossil fuels by 50% in electricity generation by 2030. And last year at COP28, we were a part of 195 countries which agreed to quote-unquote transition away from fossil fuels in the days to come. We have come out with the revised State Action Plan on Climate Change, which has been approved by the steering committee at the state level, headed by the Chief Secretary. It has been sent to Delhi for final approval. So that's how we are creating an institutional infrastructure to address the issue of climate change. As a part of the State Action Plan on Climate Change, we have set out the goal of reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. In the year 2020, almost 72% of our energy came from burning coal, and 16% came from the renewable units. We want to reduce our dependence on coal to 46% by 2030, and we have set out a target, as I mentioned, of enhancing our sourcing of renewable energy to 50% by 2030. Now, we are in alignment with this transition, so this calls for a massive energy transition. We have launched a few programs like the Mukhyamantri Leader Scheme with a target of solarization of the feeder up to 30%. You mentioned about what we're doing in the rural areas. We have recently set up the Chief Minister's Task Force on Environment and Sustainable Development. It is in order to leverage the power of bamboo, both to combat climate change as well as to strengthen rural livelihoods. Bamboo, as Mr. Jindal mentioned a little while ago, is being planted along the Sindhiti Highway. But it is a fastest growing crop which consumes little amount of water, can be grown in any agroclimatic conditions, and is an important source of energy. Now, it sequesters about 30% of carbon emission compared to any other plant. Now, the first ever factory to use bioethanol is coming up at Numaligarh in Assam. It will be commissioned shortly. And it is the central government's policy to enhance the blending target of ethanol from 10% to 20%. And recently, it was announced by the Union government to have 5% of biochar being used in the thermal power plant. Now, bamboo has the biomass which is equivalent to coal, which can be, the pellets can be used as biochar in the thermal power plant. To that extent, we can have greening of the thermal power plant. Now, it is compulsory for all the public buildings to be the green buildings. We have recently launched what we call the decarbonization roadmap for all the building sector in all the 43 cities, because we are the third most urbanized state in the country with almost 45% of population being in urban areas. So an array of activities broken into 5 years short-term goal are being carried out as a part of this roadmap to include the solarization of the rooftop, use of sustainable building material, enhancing energy efficiency, reducing energy losses, use of clean cooking ranges are all components of it so as to reduce the carbon footprint. Today, the Indian per capita energy consumption is about 1.6 ton per year, whereas North America it is about 10 and Europe into about 5. And if we are talking about we are going to grow, I can safely assume that this 1.6 in both 3 is just double. I'm not even aiming at 10, which is too high. If the society has to prosper, the energy consumption has to go from 1.6 to 10. And now take me targets set by maybe 100 prime ministers told that there will be 500 gigawatt of renewable energy installed capacity, which will approximately translate to somewhere around 7 lakh to 8 lakh gigawatt hour of energy per year. And our consumption today is about 16 lakh, the total energy consumption. And if I'm saying that by 2030, it's going to double, which means that this entire 500 gigawatt if it comes, it is not even going to take care of only the growth alone, which means that the oil industry will have to be there. So there's no going back. And we are still expecting that CAGR is going to be about 3%, in spite of the fact that everybody, in fact, we would also love to move from fossil fuel energy to renewable energy in our internal operation. That also we are doing. Oil is going to be there, oil is going to be burnt, then how do we reduce it? There comes this person of or the biofuels. There are quite a few steps which have been taken in biofuel direction. One of these is the most major one and most successful one is ethanol blended. Today, in India, all 3 oil companies put together and the oil is leaded by fraction. Normally, you will find that IOCP travel along. So in some areas, we will be reading, some areas will be in this area, we are leading by a fraction. Today, we are blending about 15 to 15.5% of ethanol in MS, which is 15% means it's a huge number. Right? When it comes in liters, I mean, I will have to forget zeros. We will run into that. So that takes care of, if I put 15% of ethanol in petrol, straight away that 15% from emission it is taken as zero. So which means that if you are, in a simple term to this one, I would say that any petroleum product, for that matter, whether it is petrol, diesel, LPG, or natural gas, anything, everything is carbon heavy. And if you burn 1 ton of fuel, it will emit 3 tons of carbon dioxide. It's simple ratio, maybe bit 5% plus minus, but 1 ton of fuel, 3 tons of carbon dioxide. And India consumes 240 million metric tons of petroleum products today. Right. So it means that 720 million tons. So if I put 15% of MS, of course MS is about 20% of the total volume. Okay, 15%. Secondly, I am cutting down 40% of the things without doing anything. So the industries who are consuming, they need not have to do anything. Just automatically the emission is coming down. Now come to diesel. We have started using biodiesel, which is at a nascent stage now. Right now, it's about 0.5%, 0.5%, 0.6%. And this number keeps growing. This will go on. Now come to gas. We got the CBs. Okay. So where it is basically compressed biogas, literally any waste can be converted to gas. And government of India is having a program called Tata. And where the target is to get 15 million metric ton of biogas, which again, out of 240 million metric ton, it's 15 million, it's a huge sum. Okay, 15 million metric ton. And can you imagine what are the what you can say, the input for the biogas will be? We have one of the biggest plant in Namato, in Tamil Nadu, where it is the poultry mills. We have one in Panipat, in our near refinery, where it is the after the plant is harvested, which is the stubble burning is the biggest problem. Then we are converting it into it. So into biogas. So everywhere, whatever is the waste available, in fact, we are talking about what are you going to do about the waste which is being generated in the some way. Plus, we can even think of putting up a plant with the waste. You tell the waste, as long as it is organic waste, we can convert that into biogas.
2-wheelers. There is so much of conversion of ICE 2-wheelers to electric. Because today, any two-wheeler that you buy, the odds are in favor of the two-wheeler if it is an electric, which is it is cheaper to maintain, it is cheaper to run, and hence the transition is very, very fast. The prices are going down, government is supporting. Same thing is happening for three-wheelers. In fact, three-wheelers, we were just reading, almost 80% of the three-wheelers today are electric. 80%. So all your Amazon supplies that come to your house are sitting in a three-wheeler which is electric. It is happening today. Cars are not something which is as fast as expected, but we have still about 5 to 6% transition that has happened in cars. Just day before yesterday, the central government has released a zero emission trucking policy. Now that's something which is absolutely revolutionary in nature. Buses, I think Gorbres spoke about it. Buses is something which the country has identified as a big priority, and that's very simply because I think you would be able to confirm the transport contributes to about 20% part of emissions, largely the particulate matter. But in cities like Delhi, it is upward of 50%. Number one, I think there is a very strong comparison or very strong case being made by by industry forums and all of that, which say that India has got a big scope for getting more cars. Which means, for example, we have about 20-25 cars per 1,000 population, and the world is at 350, in US is at 800. I think that comparison is absolutely atrocious. Simply because India is a very, very, very big two-wheeler market. So please do not look at cars per 1,000 population. Please look at personal mobility vehicles per 1,000. And then we are right up there. We don't need more cars. We don't need so many vehicles out there. We just need a very, very strong public transportation policy. And that has to become more efficient. I keep repeating that phrase that wherever I have an opportunity to. A country does not become rich by everybody owning cars. The country becomes rich only if wealthy people can travel in public transport.
Chemical industry is hard to abate. It's a extremely energy intensive industry next to the likes of steel and aluminum. And second, the scale. Scale in terms of if I am moving away from fossil fuel, what do options do I have to move which is as scalable as the current fossil fuels? These are the two major barriers that we try to address. Coming to the first part on the economics part, industry is trying to address, and particularly if you were to divide between regulated markets and unregulated market like India, the journey is even more harder. Because regulated market, you have mechanism in place like what's happening in Europe. They are able to move to a more expensive fuel faster as compared to in India, because here market do not pay, and you are not able to align the value chain across in terms of moving to more sustainable fuel. So that is one key aspect. So regulation is one barrier. But having said that, like what you see in the co-firing space, in addition of ethanol in petrol or biodiesel, the same thing is happening with us. The way we are able to migrate is a step-by-step approach. And the industry is moving towards saying that, okay, I'm using coal, I can't move away from coal, but can I co-fire with biomass? And that is what we are doing as an industry, and we are already committed and we have started consuming it. In addition, we are also looking at parallel alternative fuel technologies. Somebody spoke about the fission technology. That is, again, commercially viable, but with a huge civil liability and access to feedstock. So there are barriers if you look into alternatives to the fossil fuel to move away from. And that's what is industry need to address in a step-by-step manner. Coming to the scalable aspect, again, which is very critical, where you don't get as much of a quantum of the fuel to continue and sustain your large complexes. Couple of areas that has been looked at in terms of what we are looking at in terms of energy plantations, which is looking at how we are able to reduce waste and and create more energy plantations around and improve the scale. Circularity is being looked at in a very big way in terms of how we try to become circular in nature and try to build a scale around circularity. So that is another efforts that industry is making as far as the scale is concerned. And lastly, electrification of the factories. Now, which is very critical because industry typically uses energy in two forms. One is in the heat and second in electricity. It is cheaper to convert or make electricity sustainable as compared to heat. And that is why industry is gradually moving over from reducing the application of heat and converting as much as possible into electricity. And that is where the sustainability actually come into the picture. So those are some of the barriers and the solutions that industry is trying to arrive and gradually transitioning into a sustainable domain.